Avoiding sports, avoiding exercise, avoiding physical activity can be for many reasons. It might be the fact that they're a teenager and they don't really want to take part in activities. It might be that someone just doesn't like that sport. It might be that they don't have any friends that are doing that sport. So when we're thinking about this, please do remember that there are other social implications that might impact why someone doesn't like to take part in or enjoy or avoids sport. But if we're thinking about someone with a sensory processing difficulty, let's think about the movement. So if someone's hypersensitive to vestibular input, they're going to control their environment, they're going to control the activities that they do. They're not going to want to play sports or be involved in anything which is too physically active because they're already feeling like and processing too many of those sensations that are movement related. Someone's hyposensitive to proprioceptive input. Yes, they might do sport to get that body awareness, but to begin with, they might need to do some activities to be aware of where their body is. So if someone's hyposensitive, they might find it difficult to actually know where their foot is. So if they're running and playing football, to kick the ball will be quite difficult for them unless they've awoken that part of their body and they're processing and receiving the sensations from it. Visual information. So many sports rely on us to be able to visually discriminate things. So whether it's a ball on a football pitch, a rugby ball flying in the air, grass has lots and lots of strands. So if we're thinking about hypervisual processing, we're seeing so much detail, so it can be really distracting for people who are hypersensitive to visual information. We need to use our visual processing to be able to aim or to score or to follow a route that we're following if we're running, or if we're throwing something to see the target. If we're hypersensitive, we're going to find it difficult to be able to focus on that information because we're trying to reduce whatever it is which we're receiving too much of. So it might be reasons why people find it difficult or don't like to take part in sport. Sensitive to touch, so tactile information. We know a classic characteristic is people who are sensitive to touch prefer not to be in big crowds or environments or near lots of people. It might be the anxiety of people brushing past them and touching them or bumping into them. Or it might be the way the clothes feel. It might be the way that the environment is. If you're playing on grass, it feels very different to if you're playing on tarmac. All of these things can be relating to touch. Think about the weather when we're thinking about sport as well. It can be cold, it can be hot, we might have wind, we might have rain. All of those things can be relating to our tactile sensations and therefore our temperature as well. The way that clothes feel will then change, so therefore our body awareness and our proprioceptive sense may be impacted as well. And then the last sensory system which I'm going to touch on, and pretty much most of them have been mentioned, is sound, is auditory processing. Think about sports that are inside and think about how different that sport sounds when it's outside. So if you think about football or basketball, when you watch basketball being played inside, those sounds, the bouncing of the ball is going to echo, going to create a lot more intensity. When someone scores, there's a huge cheer and makes so much noise. If you're playing outside, you've got the sounds of the weather, but when you're playing that sport, there's a bigger area for those sounds to be created in. There's less of an enclosed intensity. So for some people it might be they find it easier to do sports outside than to do sports inside if they're hypersensitive to sound.